Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society of America. Tonight, I'm joined by our guest, who I will introduce in just a second, but we are here to preview the March Outturn preview. And we are doing these in-person tastings. Tonight, we did some over Sunday. We did 3 cities over Sunday, and we've gotten some really great just comments and love on these whiskeys. So we're really excited to share them with you. But before we kind of dive in any further, I would like to introduce my guest. This is a society member, Charlie Rodman. And Charlie, tell the people, who are you?
Hello, la la la. Hope some people get that joke. I am Charlie Rodman. I think I'm on year 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there of being a society member. My whiskey journey goes back maybe 2 or 3 years before joining the society, but very thankfully for me, I have an awesome grandma who saw that I was getting really into whiskey and bought me a membership to SMWS for my birthday.
What was your grandma?
Yeah, my grandma got me into it. I had asked for it, to be fair, but she went out and actually did it. And I've been a member ever since. It is one of the best things that I have personally done on my whiskey journey. And I actually joined like mere months before making the jump in my professional career into the world of whiskey. So I've worked in a number of different roles across the industry, big companies, small companies. The most fun job was definitely picking casks for Signatory, which is why you see a bunch of those behind me, sitting under the society bottles. And I've never officially worked for the society, but am honored to be a guest at as many events as I can attend, including this digital one tonight. So thank you for having me.
Well, awesome. So you kind of know a thing or two.
I try.
All right. Well, we'll put our minds together and see what we can dig out of these whiskeys tonight.
I mean, I've seen the lineup that you've prepared, and sorry that the surprise won't hit me the way it's going to hit everyone else, because this one's a doozy.
Yeah, it is a doozy. Well, before we get into it, I just want to do a little roll call and say hello to everyone who is joining us. And Adam Clary was here first, and he said, new face. Yes, Charlie is a new face on our YouTube channel. And I don't know, he does well enough tonight. He may be back.
Hopefully I can make the cut.
And the Whiskey Franco and Big Ed from Ohio. We have Josh Taylor here, Duke McHale, George Kaplan. Hello, it's lovely to see you here. And Robert Cabral, Sanctus Vitae. And then we have Kim, hello, who is getting on a plane. I hope you can watch us your whole plane ride through.
I saw that in the comments. That is unbelievable dedication.
To be members.
She's on a very different kind of flight from us right now.
Yeah, right. And we got Joe Combs, Jason Jones, Warren Buff, Sean Spaeth, and hello, Mayor Whiskey Goodness out in California. So, yeah, we got a nice little crew here tonight. So, I guess before we taste this first one, I do want to just remind everyone really quick that it is free shipping week. So this entire week, it is free shipping. And so the stars have aligned for it to be free shipping week and then to have an outturn like the one we are going to be releasing tomorrow. Like those, I've never seen anything like it. So it's really exciting for members to have access to all these incredible whiskeys and on top of it, free shipping. So don't forget, all week.
Absolutely. And I don't know what else is going to be coming out tomorrow, but I may have to pick up a second bottle of some of these if they're as good in the glass as they are on the label, because I mean, it is just a rocking lineup. I'm serious.
It really is. So I guess with that, shall we?
Yeah.
Start with number 1?
Start with number 1. Are you going to hold it up?
All right, here it is. Oh yeah, I'll hold it up. You want to introduce it? You want to read the...
All right. So what we have here is cask number 78.49. I hope you like a jammin' too. It is a 12-year Speyside. This is in the... Sorry? Oh, it's a Highland. I'm so sorry.
Sneaking in.
You're absolutely right. Messing up already. Look at that. I'm like 3 minutes into this thing. And this is our spicy and sweet profile, right? That's the dark purple one.
Yeah.
All right. And that is always a fun profile. We have an ex-bourbon barrel here, so we're getting that spicy sweet without the cask finishing. It's just going to be the distillate itself.
Good old ex-bourbon.
And you smell it.
I mean, for this to be our first whiskey of the night at 64.4%, I mean, we're just jumping in.
It's a full cannonball. I mean, we're just going right in.
I mean,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's big. Like, I find this distillery to be like, anytime I have a whiskey, at least from the society or at cash strength from this distillery, I just find that it's a very big, like meaty style of whiskey. And I'm getting a lot of that on the nose.
I mean, it not even in an ABV sense, just in a body sense, it feels heavy. Like there's a weight to this.
Yeah, I agree.
And what's so funny is like, if you think maybe giving too much away here, but this distillery is so predominantly actually used in Japanese blends, and they're typically so delicate, right? Yeah. And then this is just so big. This is like the opposite. That's super cool.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, there's a lot of cask happening on the nose. I mean, it's like, it's woody. It's just like, it smells thick and like silky and, like you said, weighty.
But I'm not getting 64% ABV on this. I mean, it's actually pretty mild, pretty tame. And I just opened this right before we hopped on, so it hasn't had any airtime or anything.
Yeah, it's funny. I had a lot of people. So I hosted our Outturn preview tasting in Tampa last night or yesterday and had so much fun. And that was what I was hearing a lot from this whiskey. It was kind of like our welcome warm-up whiskey, ironically, at 64.4%. But a lot of people are like, this doesn't drink and like smell like it's that high in ABV.
So on the nose, beyond that, I'm getting a lot of the spiciness and not like chili pepper spice or anything. It's more of like, I don't know. It's got to be from the cask. Maybe I'm getting more of the spices you typically would find in an American whiskey, like baking spice type.
It has like a very bright, like, I don't know, like when the weather is like really cold outside and you breathe in and like the inside of your nostrils are like very cold.
Totally.
Or like spearmint, minty kind of that feeling. Like
eucalyptus almost in here. Yeah. It's like really fresh and vibrant. Yeah. Totally. And then like there's like a wet dampness almost to it. Like
I'm getting that. I agree with you completely.
It's like newspaper or something.
I was gonna say cardboard.
Cardboard, totally.
I was like wet cardboard. That's like, please buy this whiskey. It smells like cardboard, but there's a little wet paper.
Yeah. Cardboard might even be better because like wet newspaper just like dissolves and gets all nasty. This still has some structure to it.
Like out in the rain for a little bit.
On a more positive side of the paper note, I am also getting like old book, that like lignin note that comes through from the cask.
Yeah, I mean, this is for just first fill ex-bourbon. I mean, there's a lot going on.
Every time I stick my nose back in there, I'm finding something totally different. I was just getting like jasmine or like some kind of really floral, like flowery kind of brighter note.
Yeah, there is like a perfumed note. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what it is. And there's like an element of sweetness. I want to say like honeysuckle, like a honeysuckle sweetness, a little damp cardboard.
It might just be because of the word jamming on there, but I'm getting like some jam, some like fig or something, like a darker, deeper, kind of heavier fruit.
Yeah. Man, I mean, you could sit with this. We could sit here and talk about just the nose of this for ever.
Do we have to drink it? I mean,
don't
tempt me with a good time.
We should. All right. Well, cheers.
Cheers. Oh, yeah.
That is like the most velvety, silky, big spoonful of like fresh apricot jam.
Oh yeah, with some ginger.
Yes, there is. Yes.
That
Okay.
apricot is a good shout on this. Oh my gosh. That's a huge, huge whiskey, but not from the ABV. Like my whole mouth is coated. There's flavors happening everywhere, and my brain is just trying to actually pull apart all of the different things happening right now.
I didn't really get a chance. So when I like host a tasting in person, I don't really like I'm more concerned with like what everyone else is experiencing. Like I want to hear what everybody else is thinking about a whiskey. So I like kind of taste them on the fly. And so I didn't really get a chance to like really sit and like be one with the whiskey. And I hope every person who got to taste this yesterday and tonight is having the same experience that you and I are right now, because that is fantastic.
I don't know if you can see it. I legitimately have goosebumps. Like the hair is standing up on my arm right now. This thing is insane.
Holy cow. Okay, I got to taste this.
Yeah, so coming back to it, first, it's still going, by the way. The finish is just like completely still evolving, but it was really different on the palate from the nose. There was like a ton of added depth. As much as we were talking about the nose, I felt like the spicy and the sweet were actually both dialed up on the palate.
And I think you get a little bit of that like old book note that you get on the nose. Like I'm getting more of that on the second sip. I mean, what a whiskey.
The second sip was totally different. That could have been a totally different whiskey. That's crazy. This time it was like really like almost mineral, like stone and like clay and earth for me, with then like an underlying slick of jam, just like sweetness underneath.
Like someone dropped a jam jar on
all over the tile floor. Yeah.
And then there's some dirt from the dogs that were walking on it. You just licked it off the floor.
And now I'm definitely getting that like minty, like mentholy effect that you were talking about on the nose. I'm getting it way in the back of my tongue right now.
Holy cow. That is fantastic. I mean, that is a fantastic whiskey. It is big. It is like just thick. Like viscosity is just, I mean, like it's still clinging to like, I don't even know what parts these are, but it's all there and just
up in it.
Just up in it.
So I don't know if I'm allowed to comment on things like this. So I'm just going to say it before you can stop me, especially with the free shipping going on. $130 for this is insane. Like this whiskey.
Be honest. Please be honest.
Like, this thing is punching so high above its stat sheet, which is one of the things I generally love about the society. You don't get it in every cask, but every once in a while you find one where you're like, wait, this is only 12 years old. Or like, wait, this was only $130. Yeah, this is just bonkers.
This is what we would call a hidden gem. So there you go.
I get those emails.
Yeah.
I read them. I know what you're talking about.
This is a hidden gem. That whiskey is, holy cow. And there's like a black tea thing happening on the finish for me.
Just that like earthy, complex.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to save a sip of this to come back to, because I like to jump around when I taste and see how things change as you get other flavors introduced. This is one I need to come back to.
He would add water, but I'm not that girl. Sometimes I will if I'm feeling, but I feel like that was so perfect the way it was that I don't even want to, I don't know. Maybe it could be more. I don't know. I'm going to leave it though.
I don't know really how it could, like, of course it could be, but I can't really picture how. I think it's got that lovely sweetness and it's got just a hit of heat, which for me balances that sweeter, jammier, like the thick, oily, all of that would be so rich if it didn't have just that like slip in of a little bit of ethanol heat to let you know that you're drinking cask strength whiskey. Right. And I'm worried that water would just, I don't know, hide that just lovely complexity in mouthfeel and everything.
It's a beautifully just composed whiskey. And when you just hear, 12-year first fill X bourbon from Distillery 78, spicy and sweet, you're like, okay, yeah, that sounds like, I love X bourbon. I'm into that.
Me
But
too.
fully tasting this is like, oh, it's so good. So this sounds so good. It's worth resetting my password.
Oh, James, thank you for tuning in, James. He's one of my crew, I guess. It's generally easier than you'd think, James, to reset your password. You just type in your email and they'll send you a changeover.
We can do that easily. All right. Well, wow, that was.
I can't believe that was our starting point. You have set the bar high for this tasting, Jenna.
I feel like we should take an intermission. Do we just take a pause and like soak in this moment?
It's sad that we have to do it, but I think we must trudge on. Woe be us. But this is what they've asked us to do. I think we can't let the people down.
We cannot. But before we move on, I am going to read the tasting notes really quick.
Oh, right.
So this says the fragrance of roses and jasmine joined a thick and sticky palate that combined burnt toffee, apricot jam, and custard with sea salt. I think we touched on a lot.
We did a really good job on that.
We really did, because you're like the minerality, like your sea salt.
You said apricot, and I think I said jasmine.
You said jasmine and like the thick and like sticky mouthfeel. I mean, we pretty much nailed this.
Unbelievable. That's one of the better alignments I've had with a label. That's actually pretty happy with us there. If I could, I'd give you a high five.
Wow. Yeah. Well, all right. High five. All right. Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to like drink some water and try to like reset myself here.
Oh, good idea. I might be giving away the next flavor profile, but with the blue ones, I can never tell which it is, even when I'm holding it. So hopefully not too much of a giveaway.
This one is pretty cool. Pretty exciting. It's funny. I didn't really read the tasting notes on these at all yesterday. So
I generally don't read the tasting notes.
I do
until after. Yeah, until after.
But I didn't do that yesterday. Yeah. All right. Shall we dig into number 2?
Number 2. And sorry, I only have 3 SMWS glasses, so I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I'm gonna have to mix in some standard Glencairns.
That's all right. All right. So the next one we are going to be tasting is Cask 46.128. A lot of good stuff. And this is an 11-year Speyside. And I believe this was 8 years. I'll have to go back and check my notes, but 8 years in ex-bourbon hogshead. And then it went into a first fill Caucasian oak barrique. So this is my first time ever having a whiskey in this cask type, or being finished in this cask type.
So it's not just white oak.
It is from the Caucasus Mountains, which is between Russia and Georgia. And they say it's very similar to French oak. And then like price wise, French oak can be quite expensive. Like this is right in between it's like American oak, Caucasian oak, French oak, as far as like pricing of barrels go. So I wasn't really sure what to expect. Because this is the first time I've ever tasted a whiskey in this particular cask type.
Me too.
And I really love this distillery. I'm a big fan of 46. I've had some absolutely just stellar whiskeys from them. So was pretty stoked to get into this one.
So oddly enough, the other night I was watching Captain Phillips, the movie. I don't know if you remember that Tom Hanks movie. He's on a boat and pirates come and they take over the boat. Anyway, I was drinking a society whiskey. I like to pair things with what I'm doing for entertainment in the night. And the society with names makes it very easy. So I chose an oily and coastal called Mutiny on the Bounty.
All right.
But oddly, it is a Distillery 46 oily and coastal, which it is a wild whiskey. What? Yeah. That is a really fun one if you're able to find a sample floating around anywhere. this is my first Caucasian oak. And I imagine if the New York tasting is doing what they typically do, where you play the guessing game, trying to figure out what cask types and everything, no one is going to get this one. No, never even heard of this.
Yeah. Like I said, I learn things every day here. And when I saw this coming down the line, I was like, what is that? Right? The nose is crazy.
I will probably get slammed by this by people more in the know than I am, but there's a really unique creaminess on the nose to this that normally for me is like a Mizunara note. Not that I've explored much Mizunara, but that's like the only.
Yeah.
It's this particular like thick, creamy kind of. I don't even really know how to describe it. It's like extra sweetened.
Yes.
Cream. And I'm getting that here. Like that maybe would have been my guess for cask type if I hadn't seen this already.
So we had last night, I was talking with a member, or yesterday, I keep saying last night, it was an afternoon tasting. And we both nosed this whiskey for the first time together. I was standing at his table, and he was like, this is like, he said something like vanilla cake or like birthday cake.
Tres leches or something
like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, it reminds me of funfetti. You know, like funfetti, like cake mix. If anyone out there ever made a funfetti, just like the boxed funfetti, and you mix up that cake mix, that's like all I could think of. It's like a vanilla creamy, like cake batter kind of.
I'm going all over. I had like horchata for a second. Like,
ooh, yes.
all of these like milk cream based kinds of confectionery, very baking spicy. Man.
It's, I mean, I have a couple of whiskeys from the society, and I cannot recall a whiskey that has had a nose like this. It's like, it's out there.
It's just so creamy. Like I really, I don't know. And not just like not in a viscosity sense, like hand whipped cream, like I don't know, like I'm at a dairy mill or something, or dairy, and someone's just out there churning.
Whipped cream. Homemade.
I see a couple comments, and as someone not affiliated officially with the society here, I have to agree. The oily and coastal category has been underrepresented as of late. That is my favorite by far. So if we can bring some more of those in, I know that
we're working on it.
You're working on it.
We're working very hard on it. They're not easy to get, but we will definitely have some coming out this year.
That used to be like the society bread and butter was oily. I could get a Glen Scotia oily and coastal, once a month, and now they're just nowhere to be found. It's everyone caught on to Campbellton. It's so sad.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you just got to wait like a little while, and we'll see one. I think soon is all I can say.
Well, the good news is Distillery 46 still flying under the radar, and it's a hard one to come by. I mean, like if you try, there aren't official bottlings of this distillery. I don't think I've ever seen one. Bottlers almost never release it, and I mean, heck, they only operate the distillery half the time because the staff. There are two distilleries on the same site, and they spend half their distilling season at one and half at the other. There just isn't much Distillery 46 in the world.
I mean, I don't know. It's only when David Beckham calls and says, hey, look, I need this blended whiskey made, and I want this to be a part of it. So
let's make sure we put it in a cologne bottle. That's the other stipulation.
So you could put it in your bathroom, and people will think it's cologne, but you can just go in there and take a shot of whiskey. Like, I just got to freshen up.
Those family events, it's Thanksgiving, it's getting a little rough. You got to go in and spritz. That's no
one will know.
No one will know. We'll know. We'll know.
Right. All right. I'm going to give this.
Yes. Let's go.
And assess what's happening to all of my olfactory system here.
Oh, wow. Not what I expected from the nose.
No, not at all.
Oh my gosh.
What is that?
Like I'm getting golden raisin.
That is. I need a minute. It is like. Now that you said golden raisins, it's like taste.
Just like the little cardboard box you'd get in school. You like flip the top. And
maybe they're like the yogurt covered ones.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah.
Yogurt covered golden raisins.
Yeah, you are getting a little bit of that creaminess still, but not nearly as much. I mean, it's really fruity.
This is a little mental. I mean, the nose is like, for me, it is like funfetti and like, there's a little like, just like hay. There's like a hay note in there. Like you're just sitting on a big hay pile in a barn whipping up a funfetti cake.
We're still at the dairy. It's just now we're out in the field.
Here we are.
I'm definitely getting more after having tasted it, and I think maybe my palate and nose are starting to communicate a little bit better to get in sync here. I'm getting a lot more of the cask impact on the nose, just like actual oak and some of the kind of tannic dryness.
I can see why they say it would be like similar to French oak, like that feeling. Like French oak can be like a little bitter for me. And there is like a little element of that, like spicy bitterness. But it's not off-putting in any way. It's
definitely not.
It's a really, I mean, heck, I gotta sit with this for a minute.
I don't want to interrupt your sitting, but I gotta ask, do you find just like there's an oiliness to this one? Like
I was gonna say that, but I was like, don't say, like the first one was like really viscous, and I'm like, this one, I'm like, okay, this one, like, was it still the first one that's like making everything feel oily?
No, it's
oily.
It's different though, because like the first one I felt was like viscous and fatty in the way that it had like a lot of weight on your tongue and palate and everything. This is pretty light. Like it doesn't feel like it's heavy on the tongue, but it's coating. Like my whole mouth there's just like a residue of deliciousness everywhere.
This is, I'm like, I want to read the tasting notes so bad because I have, like you have all those things in your head and you're like, I know this, but like, I can't put my finger on it.
Are you getting cinnamon in the finish? Like I'm trying to throw things out before we read the officials here. Hopefully spot something again. I'm still riding that jasmine on the last one.
I mean, there's like a syrupy, like a golden raisin, like syrup note, maybe. It's like a syrup note that I'm like getting on the nose.
Any honey for you?
Definitely a little honey. But it's like rich. It's like it's not like diluted in any way. You're not like, oh, that's like a little whisper of this or that. It's like the nose is very rich.
I mean, so far we've gone big whiskey.
I know.
And that's my speed. Like I love big. Every once in a while I'll want to tone it way down, and not hot again. I mean, 54.5 is also kind of right around my lane, but it's definitely not underproofed and it's definitely not overproofed. This thing is striking the balance beautifully.
I just got to work on it not going down the wrong pipe when I drink it.
Oh, that's bad. Hate that. Also, I don't know if you can see it, but just the legs that this thing's leaving in the glass, it's almost a solid rim all the way around the glass.
Quite leggy.
Yeah.
That is delicious. All right. I'm just going to, you can keep, Oh. All
right, I'll join you. Let's keep them in suspense. Oh. Okay. I can't say I have all of the source material for some of these notes.
Right. That I don't even know what that is. I'm gonna do the Google search on that real quick. What is that? Oh.
There are two things on here that I have no idea.
All right. So, I mean, it makes a little sense. So Tasting notes say Turkish Delight, Cajun seasoning rub, roasted strawberry. It's essentially a Bavarian cream, is what that is.
Bavarios. Okay.
And then
Bavarois.
dandelion and burdock jelly and roasted pears with a chai spiced creme anglaise. So I can definitely get that creamy, like that Bavarian cream. It is a very creamy whiskey.
Yep, no doubt.
I can't say I've had burdock jelly.
What is burdock? Any idea?
I will have to do a Google on that too.
Okay, yeah. And that chai spice, though, for me really rings true. I think that's what I was seeing as horchata. Chai totally works right there. It's a brilliant whiskey.
Burdock is a stout common weed with burrs that stick to clothing or animal fur. Oh, it's like are those like the little hitchhiker things that you get in your...
Those little bastards that, you never want to encounter without shoes.
And yeah, I don't know. But
how do you make a jelly out of those? And who's tasted it?
I don't know. I mean, I'd be down to taste it, but just because now I want to know what it tastes like.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've already tasted it. You just had it in a glass. Those notes that we couldn't quite place, those are burdocks.
If the jelly tastes like this, I'll be down for
it. We've got a new side hustle here. It's just going to be the burdock jelly business.
Yeah.
Because put this in a non-alcoholic spread and let me put that on my sandwich. I would be thrilled.
I will tell you that we have a member. His name is Mayor. He is here, Whiskey Goodness. And he was kind enough to send me some persimmon jam that he made. And it is absolutely fantastic. So we have an in-house jam maker already.
If you could please chime in on the chat and we will commission.
Yes.
I will commission some burdock jam if just to find out, because if it tastes like this, I need more of that in my life. Please.
Let's see. Yeah, burdock teas. The Whiskey Franco says they make burdock teas. Yeah. And then Trevor Dunbar asked, what's the highest ABV that the society has bottled? And that is a great question. I think the highest that I've ever seen or like tasted was around 68%. It might have been like 68.5%. But I personally haven't seen anything higher than that. Have you seen anything higher than like 68%?
That's right around where the highest I've seen from the society is.
Yeah.
I have seen some things in Scotch that have tipped the 70% hazmat, which is always weird because you think about temperature in like a Kentucky versus temperature in Scotland. Typically ABVs go up in Kentucky and ABVs go down in Scotland. So how something gets above barrel entry proof by that much in Scotland is a mystery to me, but you can see it every once in a while.
That is crazy. Yeah. George Kaplan says happiness is a warm bung. That one was at 68.5%. So that's up there. I don't think I've ever I wonder if, I've had some bourbons that were like hazmat bourbons, but
yeah,
I've never had a Scotch whiskey at 70+%.
I don't think I've ever tried one.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd really want to. Like there's
it's like, I don't know.
In bourbon, there's like something fun about it getting there because I mean, I don't mean to blaspheme bourbon. I love bourbons too. But the profile like lends itself to being just bigger and punchier and like, it can be fun to use ABV to introduce that kind of complexity and palate. And malt, I find so often as it proofs down, particularly if it's naturally aging proof down, it just develops so many layers and complexity that, I texted you earlier when I received these bottles and there's going to be one that's coming up. And I was like, oh my God, sweet, fruity, and mellow, mid-50s ABV. If I see that, I basically just jump for joy. I'm probably going to buy it because that's such a winning combination for me with the society. So we do have one of those come. That actually might be our next one. That was totally coincidental.
Yeah, it is our next one.
Look at that.
Cap off the high ABV stuff. Mayor said that the Octomore X4 was 70% ABV. So there you go.
There you go.
We can do it. It's, I guess, them.
I mean, Octomore is incredible. So I Never seen a Society Octomore, by the way. Where are those? I'm just kidding. I'm completely kidding.
I'm working on it. All
All
right.
right.
So,
I'm gonna open this next one.
I know. I feel like I have to like do an exercise or like, I don't know, like stretch to keep this party going. This is insane.
I don't know if you meant that as a pun or not, but it wasn't bad. You have to exercise these flavors.
Yes.
Get a priest in there, because I mean I'm fully still mouth coated with taste.
I keep drinking water too to like
insufficient.
Smell some beans. I don't know. They should have had a espresso with me. I could cleanse my palate with.
I thought about doing the coffee grinds, but figured that might be non grata. I know the community is divided on that. So
I mean, I don't know. I smell my arm sometimes to like reset my nose. Like just a good old whiff of yourself will just, do the trick.
That I guess makes sense, because it's like it's a known smell. You're used to it. So you're just like, all right, here's a baseline.
Right, exactly. It is literally your baseline.
That's pretty clever. I like that.
So it's whatever works,
All right. Do you already have yours poured?
I do. So all right. This distillery, or where the distillery that this whiskey comes from, is one of, I'm not allowed to have the F words, but I do. And I really love this distillery. And in this type of cask, when I saw this, I was like, thank you. So excited to taste this. So I'm going to just throw it up there. So we can
share. One of the coolest things with this distillery, and people in the chat, oh, you already threw it up there. Well, no, sorry. You can keep it up. You can keep it up. I was going to say, people will know once I say this. This is like the Swiss Army knife of distilleries. I mean, I don't know how many, I meant to look this up before we got on, how many different society numbers this one distillery occupies. I think it's we have like 4.
I was going to say, so let's see.
You got 135.
135, 112,
120,
122.
G15.
Yep. And then there's another one. I have to look it up.
Well,
I don't know what the number is. But I want to say there are 5 from this distillery, if I'm not mistaken.
And when I first learned of this distillery on my whiskey journey, I was like, I don't really love that they do everything. Like, why can't they just pick their lane and like do? And then I actually tried the different things they did, and I was like, ooh, I love that. Oh, I love that too. Oh my gosh, that's the best grain whiskey I've ever had. And so now I'm thrilled that they just have these crazy stills that are like in a Rector set. They can change in how the plates work, and it's very cool.
It is a very cool thing. I remember when one of the first, well, not like the first, but one of my whiskeys from the society was from this distillery that totally just rocked my world. And it was in Outturn too, from this distillery, not 112, but, and I remember like being so intrigued by what they did that I was like doing research one day and I had this question and I couldn't find an answer to it. So I just called the distillery from my head, like just picked up my phone. I called them and I was like, hey, I know this might be weird. I just have a quick question. Is there somebody that can, help me? They're like, oh yeah, hang on one second. And they go and like pull their like production manager to come and like talk to me and answer my questions on the phone. And I was like, this is the coolest thing.
The Scots are amazing.
Like, you're just going to come, like, I could just be I'm just some random person calling because I have some questions about the stills. I was asking about the stills. I was like, exactly how many still types are in there? How many different styles of distillate can you make? And totally just like walked me through the whole thing. I was like, that phone call cost me like $100, but it was totally worth it. It was
worth it.
Awesome.
Totally worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Big fangirl of what they do.
And if anyone has another clue is if anyone has a chance to visit the national park in Scotland that shares a name with this distillery, definitely do it. It's probably the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my entire life. The colors were artificially saturated looking, but all real. I couldn't believe it. It's like, oh, someone just turned on vibrant mode on their LED TV. Oh no, shit! I'm just looking out the window of the bus.
Right.
And fun fact, the first SMWS order I ever placed had a bottle from Distillery 112 in it.
Really?
It was a 53, a 26, and a 112, and I had never even heard of Distillery 112, but it was, the notes sounded interesting. I'm trying to see what it was. I think it's 112.11, and look, the bottle's over there. So you've
Cask 99, and
you've gotten a number of them over the years.
Holy cow. Whew. All right, I just want to quickly look up really quick the breakdown of how long this was in Sauterne for. I think it's either 16-2 or 15-3, if I remember correctly. But let me just double check really quick. I just want to be sure I got all of my facts straight.
This is crazy.
Right?
It's like melon, like watermelon or cantaloupe or something.
Yeah.
That's so unique.
Yeah, so 15 years in ex-bourbon and then the remaining time into first fill Sauterne.
This
yeah,
is wild.
it is melony. Like cantaloupe. And this one smells weighty and like just big too.
I'm getting different on this one. I'm gonna have to disagree with you. This to me has got a lot of delicate going on.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, outside of that melony fruity note, which is like, what was the name of that guy he died? He came out and would smash the watermelons with the hammer. Gallagher. This is like Gallagher coming up. He was some comedian back in the day. I don't know. We're probably too young to know who he's supposed to be. His whole shtick was he would just smash watermelons with a hammer. It's like he smashed a watermelon in this glass and just blasted back out in my face. Other than that, everything else is very subdued.
I mean, there is like a really nice floral aspect to this whiskey. But it's like, I'm getting like cantaloupe syrup and then like in a field of just like, it's like lavender and
white flowers, just galore.
It is like springtime and I don't know.
Hello, March. Perfect for the March outturn. You did that on purpose.
Did it on purpose. You can blame Tom for that.
Thanks, Tom.
This is all Tom's doing.
No, it's lovely. It doesn't have, and it might be that Sauterne Barrique, but Distillery 112 for me, I normally get like a very like clay or like wet clay. I don't know if I had to do art when I was in elementary school, and like that just wet clay smell is something that I get in 112, and it's not here.
Yeah, this is
green peppers, like bell peppers.
So Kim is asking, how does this compare to Rara Avis? You know, Scott and I were just talking about that whiskey like last week, and I don't think I have it on my shelf. And so I can't go back and like do a side-by-side. If I have it, I will be shocked that I didn't finish it. But I don't think I have it. So I don't.
That was in the December outturn.
Yeah, middle of last year, I think.
Okay. But was that the one that was also Sauterne cask?
I believe it was.
Okay. I had that one. I happened to be in New York and went to that outturn. I remember that one being pretty funky.
Yeah, typically with Sauterne, and why I really love Sauterne is I get a good amount of funk on, which is, it's so funny, you know, like when you taste Sauterne wine, it's so like, before you've even taken a breath and tasted anything, it is just like, it is so sweet. Like your tongue is just like electrified with sweetness when you drink Sauterne wine. Well, at least for me, that's the experience I have. But when I have whiskeys that have been in Sauterne, I get this like just funky, like almost like blue cheese kind of note.
Oh, really?
I don't know what it is. It makes whiskey like super funky for me. And I actually saw a comment in here from FMS Piano that said, I got almond syrup at first and then blue cheese and cabbage on the nose with this.
Oh,
yeah.
Those are great notes. I can see like the boiled cabbage where it's like a little wet, a little soggy.
And yes, Sauterne, Rare Avis was in Sauterne. It was a little bit older. I think that one was 21 years, 25 years. And that was 23 years in ex-bourbon and then in First Fill Sauterne.
I'm just trying to pull this apart.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful nose.
I get like actual sugar cube, just like raw sugar. That's a very atypical note for me for malt.
And some people I see are asking about the lottery for the Irish whiskey. We did pull our first round of winners for that today. And I think we will pull another round on Wednesday. So if you didn't get an email, don't give up all hope. And JT is asking, this distillery is 3 times, 112, 122, and 135. Are they different regions or something? So you want to explain this one?
Sure, yeah. So for most of the society offerings, if the distillery has more than one style, they actually give each style a unique number. And example, I think the only one I can think of that's not the case for is Distillery 42, where both the peated and unpeated varieties come in 42. But if you look at, I can't think of the numbers off the top of my head, but Brooklady versus Port Charlotte, for instance, they're each treated with a different number from the society. So these are all distilled at the same location. If this distillery were to take something and blend it together, even though they're different distillery numbers from the society, it would still be a single malt. It would meet the classification because they were all still distilled in the same place. But they have these really unique stills, and Jenna was talking about this a little bit earlier, that they're actually modular in their construction. So they can swap kind of plates in and out that affect the reflux and the distillation and allow a different amount of copper interaction and change the profile of the whiskey that comes out of the still. So they, both in terms of kind of still type and these modular stills, have different stills that they can make malt with. And then they actually also have a grain distillery as well. And one of the really cool things, I see it's noted in the comments that there are 2 different grain distillates. One of the very cool things that this distillery does, which very few do, is that they actually distill 100% malt, but on a column still. And technically that's not a single malt because a single malt has to be pot still distilled. And for me personally, those are probably my favorite single grain whiskeys I've ever had. I just love
whiskeys. I guess it is. I mean,
it is. It totally is. A blend is a mix of at least one single malt and at least one single grain. G15-1, Lead Us to Temptation. That was it's a bottle I still have. It's right over there. One of my early society purchases, and I tasted it with Brianna Ross, who is also an employee at the society. She's more behind the camera, but if you ever get the chance to meet her or to talk with her on the phone, she is a wealth of knowledge.
I love her. Yeah.
We were tasting these blind, and we knew there was a grain whiskey in the lineup, but didn't know which one it was. And we got through the whole lineup, and we're like, well, damn, I have no idea which one's the grain, which is pretty unusual. Grain normally stands out pretty overtly. So yeah, if you can get G15, that is a beautiful distillate.
Yeah. That's what I love about this distillery. It's just, there's just so many options and they do them all well. So, all right, I'm diving in to taste this again.
Wow. So I had a confession to Jenna before we got on, and I wouldn't have mentioned it if it weren't the opposite in this case. This is now the second. I had previously only met one Sauterne whiskey that I really liked. Sauterne just normally isn't my lane. I think it's a little bit too sweet, a little bit too funky, and a little bit too dominating of the malt. This has like this super cool chalky, almost pezzy. Like for me, those are notes I normally associate with Springbank and Campbellton, and it's not there. It's no one would confuse this for a Springbank, but it's got that same like kind of, you were saying electric earlier when you drink Sauterne, like it just shocks, kind of like a shock tart or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just,
oh my gosh, a shock tart. I haven't had one of those since I was in like high school. They still
I know.
make things.
I have no idea if they still make them. I assume everyone who is old enough to buy this is old enough to have eaten a shock tart. So hopefully that reference lands. But it's just like tingly in a really cool way. And the Sauterne isn't like jumping from the top rope, giving the people's elbow to the distillate here. It is like actually playing its part in the concert.
Yeah, I find this, and I don't find this to be overly like funky, or at least like what I typically get with Sauterne. I find this to be like the nose was a lot heavier for me, whereas the palate is definitely a little more delicate and elegant, and like a little more floral forward on the palate. And there's like a nice little like, trying to just like pinpoint what it is. I want to almost say like pencil shavings, like a little pencil shaving thing happening on the back end, like as I'm talking. Beautiful.
I'm actually getting everything in the pencil but the eraser. I'm getting the graphite too, just like a little bit of that minerality, definitely the pencil shavings, that woodiness. That's a really good call.
Yeah. Pretty whiskey.
It's in the right category for sure. Like if it weren't so fruity, you could actually maybe convince me that it could go in light and delicate, because it is just like, it's very elegant. This thing has like a lace dress on. It's so light and just composed.
It's light and elegant, not light and delicate.
Yeah. There we go. Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah, it's a really, that's a great way to describe it. It's a really lovely whiskey. And FMS Piano says, "Ha, pencil shavings." Yes, I got that too.
Do we check in with the official notes? Is it time?
Do it. Yeah, let's see what they have to say on this one. So this is apple cream and spiced rye crumble pots in a cup of hibiscus tea. Then we awakened the serpent with aromas of toffee popcorn and caramelized pear slices.
Awaken to the serpent is in quotes, which makes me think you're doing like a sexual euphemism. Is that what they're going for?
I'm not really sure what that means.
I don't like that on there.
I was gonna Google it, but I'm not.
Yeah, would not do that.
I don't know what that means. And Jason Jones is asking how many of the 18 years in Sauterne. So this was, I just looked.
I think you said 15 and 3.
Yeah. So 15 years in ex-bourbon, and then the remaining time in first fill Sauterne on that one. Wow. I feel like we could end this here. Like we've had 3 whiskeys that have like totally, I'm so sated and satisfied and happy.
And yet we've only just begun. We're at the midway point.
I know. Oh my gosh.
I am so spoiled. Like the fact that you picked me to do this one, thank you.
Well, you got to thank Miss Brianna Ross. She threw your name in the hat.
I am forever thankful to Miss Brianna Ross. In fact, in my phone, it's funny you call her Miss Brianna Ross. In my phone, it's Miss Brianna Scotch Malt Whiskey Society Ross. So she's very formal.
She's my queen bee. She's the best.
Yeah, she's an inspiration and just so low key about it.
Yeah.
So Brianna, thank you. Thank you.
All right.
All right. We got a lot of age left to go.
We do.
We do. It's not just a lot of taste, a lot of age. Okay. Ooh, I like the name on this one.
Yeah. All right. So up next, we have Cask, number 9.235. The proof is in the finish. 17 years Speyside in an ex-bourbon hogshead, and then this went into a first fill ex Oloroso hogshead. And this is not a deep rich and dried fruit. This is in our spicy and sweet flavor profile, and at 55.8% ABV.
I like that after I messed up the first one, you just have taken over the
Oh no,
reading
I
duty.
feel like you did the last one.
Okay.
The one that you're like super jazzed about.
I am.
So
Thank you.
I'm gonna you're gonna take it away on the last one.
But I also get it. I really, really muffed the pun on that one. That was no good. So
Gosh, what is that?
I'm gonna give a quick little story again, just because it's so emblematic of stuff with the society for me, and this name in particular. The proof is in the finish. When I was like earlier on in my whiskey journey, I never understood why tasting notes were written out like always nose, palate, finish. The finish part kind of always confused me, because basically everything I had drank, even when I was starting to get into whiskey, the finish was effectively just like the fading out of whatever the palate was. It wasn't until I got into particularly single cask and cask strength whiskeys, which of course is the bread and butter of the society, that I realized the finish is an entirely independent part of the experience. It can actually, in a lot of cases, be the longest, most complex part. The whiskey can continue to evolve. And for me, that's become like a signpost of if something is a really well-made whiskey or not, if it does have a finish that's differentiated from the palate, if it does evolve. And so seeing something called the proof is in the finish, like I am gripping my seat. I am so excited. And then the stats on this thing are just freaking incredible, of course.
And this was a distillery that I never tasted before I became a member. I have tasted some of their core stuff, but I had never tasted anything from this distillery. My first time was with a society bottling, and I just totally fell in love with it. And I just think they make really fantastic whiskey. So I'm not a huge sherry person. It's not, I love sherry on its own. But sherry cask matured whiskeys are like not what I typically gravitate toward. But this one I was actually really excited for. I think because it wasn't in our deep, rich, and dried fruits for flavor profile, because I really love spicy and sweet. And so
yeah, I do too.
I was stoked for this one. And Jason, thank you. I forgot to put in that first fill ex Oloroso hogshead in the banner. So thank you for calling that out. I got it fixed.
I wasn't going to out myself as also being a non sherry fanatic. I do enjoy sherried whiskeys every now and again, but I find like it to me is similar to the lane that peat goes in, where like it can be so much the dominant element that if it's not your thing, then it kind of quickly dominates the underlying malt, and the cask really takes over. So for you to say that you're in that lane too, and that this one really scratches the itch, I'm even more excited. And likewise, the fact that it's in spicy and sweet. I think I have 2 bottles of deep, rich, and dried fruits up there. It's just not generally my lane. But
Scott having a fit if he heard these words. Us talking about his deep, rich, and dried fruits.
I know. I was again telling you off screen. I'm in a group with a bunch of society members, and shout out to Mark Aziz, Mr. Sherry. He's just like always on my case, because we have such opposite. Just if you look at what we have from the society on our back bar, it's so opposite. He's all deep, rich, and dried food. So, all right, let's get into it.
Get into it. See, I don't find the notes of this to be overwhelming at all. Like at all.
Do you have the breakout on time for this one?
Yes. So this was, I believe, 15 and 2. Yep, 15 years in ex-bourbon, and then the remaining time in first fill Spanish oak Oloroso.
I mean, it's got the like dried fruit a little bit, but really it's much more of the Oloroso nuttiness. Like the sherry fruit for me is pretty tame on this one.
It is, and I find this to be like very well balanced. I'm actually getting like a little bit of like furniture polish and like maybe a little like leather tobacco.
Leather, for sure, leather. And then I'm again getting like a little bit of almost like tres leches. It's got like some cinnamon and cream going on.
There is like a spice, like a baking spice kind of thing happening on the nose.
And oddly, a lot of bourbon now.
There's like some caramel, like brown butter caramel kind of
Mhm.
things happening in there. But it's really like that black tea leather, furniture polishy kind of thing.
A
I'm getting
lot,
stuff.
yeah, a lot of the like older notes. You could have maybe swayed me. The only thing is, and it's not that it noses hot, it's just you can nose the ethanol. That's probably the only thing for me keeping this from an old and dignified in terms of what it smells like.
That's a great point. Typically those tend to be a little tamer in that kind of punch to the nose.
Yeah.
Uh, but this one, yeah, this one has a
Like
little more zest to it.
the actual things it smells like are old and dignified. It's just got a
Yeah,
little more joie de vivre. You know,
yeah.
it's still enjoying its youthful
It's
days.
like an old soul of a whiskey.
Yes, there we go.
Man, that is. And FMS Piano says right off the bat, I got ripe plum and canned mixed fruits on the nose, and I can definitely see that plummy, like a stewed plummy kind of note.
So now that you've said that, I'm getting like a trail mix where you have like the candy dried fruit with the nuts in there and some raisin.
It's funny. I was gonna say like Concord grapes, and it's not like grapey, like you think artificial grapiness, but if you've ever had like a Concord grape, like that initial just like burst of that like richer grape flavor, I got a little bit of that on the nose too.
Mm.
This is my kind
Well,
of Sherry Cask whiskey.
yeah, I'm with you. I want Sherry to be like a dancing partner, not
Yeah.
the lead singer.
Yeah.
I think I'm mixing metaphors there.
All right. Well, I'm going in. Cheers.
Cheers. Yes, I don't know. We've taken too long. That's stupid. What is happening there?
That,
Oh my.
and I'm honestly a little sad that Scott is not here to hear me say this. This is probably at the very top of any sherried, non-peated, I will say, whiskeys that I have had. Typically, like I said, it's not something I gravitate toward, but this is like the perfect marriage of just like sherry and bourbon and flavor and heat and just texture. It is just like this beautiful just marriage of all of those things, and that is absolutely stunning.
My cheeks are hurting from smiling. I can't get this smile down. It's
My mouth's like
unreal.
watering as I'm talking.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And again, just it's not even legs, it's just making beads on the glass. There's just actual drops stuck on there. This is next level.
This is stunning. I mean, this is my kind of sherry cask whiskey. This is totally up my alley.
I
Mm.
just when I was reading the labels, I just didn't think that this would punch in the same class as the 112, just because what I know about distillery 112, and I normally lean lower ABV, sweet, fruity, and mellow. Like I said, that is my road. I think this is from a composure standpoint. If you're just talking like maturity,
Yeah.
and like, I don't know, composition, this is whiskey competition whiskey.
Yes.
Like this is the one that if you guys didn't send this to whatever competition is coming up next, put 2 bottles aside and enter them. This is crazy.
Yeah, this is absolutely just and I'm like reading the tasting notes and I'm like, I'm not even really getting any of this stuff. But it's just like, it's absolutely stunning. And Fun fact, it was distilled on Ben Diedrich's birthday, March 2nd.
Oh, happy birthday, Ben.
Yeah, he just had a birthday, and this is
Man, I would love to know what Ben drank on his birthday. It must have been something awesome.
I'm sure it was probably something pretty good.
Yeah.
Like in the nose of this, just going back to the glass, I'm like, I only have like very little left in the glass, but man, I mean, I just want to shove my whole nose in the glass. I can't get my nose in there far enough.
I think every whiskey up to this point has had an element of fun to them. They've all been like high energy, or the last one maybe a little less on the high energy, but they've all had an element of just like fun, a curiosity, or like something that really was provoking my brain to try and pull apart what was going on. This is just composed, structured, beautiful, classic Scotch done absolutely right. Like, you could pour this for anyone who says they like Scotch and they will be blown away. It's got the proof just right. It drinks so smooth. Like, I don't know who that enjoys malt whiskey wouldn't like this.
Yeah, this is stunning. I mean, really, just I don't really know how else to describe it. It's just a really, like you said, like the composure of this whiskey is, I mean, everything's just so well integrated and entwined, and it really delivers.
And then coming to the name of it, just, I mean, I still have so much of my glass left because I haven't needed another sip. It just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah, this is, wow. This might be the first sherry cask whiskey that I just finish all the way through. That's crazy. That's so crazy. I can't wait. I'm going to text Scott after this because he's going to be tasting it out. Well, he tasted it last night. I didn't ask him what he thought about this, so I'm really excited to hear what he has to say about this.
Did you try it last night, or were you just like running around you didn't even get a chance?
Like I said, like, you know, I taste it, but like, I'm not concerned about my experience with it. I want to know how everybody else is experiencing it, you know, like, so that's where my focus is. So I'm excited that I got to do this tonight so I could kind of like really get into it. And this is, I mean, this is beautiful. I'm going to read the tasting notes really quick.
Yes. Sorry. I've been I'm overcome by it. I forgot what we were doing.
So this says sticky toffee pudding with caramel sauce, Catalan cream, clouty dumpling with custard and lingonberry crumb pie. Anyone for ice cream? Lingonberry jam is probably one of my favorite jams. And maybe I'm like trying to see where I could possibly get that. Because there's like a tart element to that. And I could maybe get that like on the finish, like as I'm talking to you, like up in here, it's like a little tart.
It's not quite there. It's not zingy enough. It's to me a little too dignified for that like sharp of a berry. Fun fact: lingonberries and meatballs blow your mind. It's the Swedish way; will blow your mind.
I've not tried it with meatballs, but I would do that. I love like jam on savory things, so I'd be totally down for that.
Give it a go. That's Christmas dinner in Sweden.
Ooh, yum. I just want to go there for the pastry.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really good scene.
I like follow all of these accounts and they just post all of these beautiful pastries. I'm just like, I just want to go there on a pastry tour and just eat every pastry known to man there.
They've got a cool society presence too, by the way. If you're ever in Stockholm, the partner bar is actually it's called the Ardbeg Embassy. And they have like every Ardbeg ever released and just a boatload of society offerings. I've gotten myself in trouble there. It's a good time. Good trouble. It's
the only embassy you could get yourself in trouble at.
It's not technically Swedish land. It's Ardbeg land. So, you know, I'm not protected. Danger zone.
And I wanted to really quick go back. So Tim Ottinger did some research for us. And he said, the snake represents, I'm the Kundalini. Am I saying that right? Energy that sits in the base of the spine and when awakened provides a mystical experience with great energy flowing throughout the body. Love it. Thank you for.
Well, now I feel like a child for my comments.
Thank you for setting us straight. And then he also asked if I intentionally dyed my hair to match that flavor profile. And no, it just, I kind of go back and forth between blue and purple. And I just got lucky that I am now a spicy.
Wow.
I know.
That is an exact match.
That's pretty cool. I'm like, holy cow. That's a pretty good match.
That is very good.
When people ask me, oh, what color is that? I'm just going to say spicy and sweet.
And people can be like, those are flavors. Like, not in my life.
I love it. All right. So, and Robert Anderson said in Chicago, right, Robert? You're in Chicago. I visited the Ardbeg Embassy in Stockholm in July of 2022. Fantastic experience.
All right.
Well, I got to go now.
You do. And I mean, I don't know about other people. Maybe I'm too far down the whiskey rabbit hole, but if I plan a trip anywhere, legitimately the first thing I do is look if there's a partner bar. And of course, it's because I'm excited to see what SMWS offerings they have. They generally have a lot that weren't released in the US. It's very fun, but it's also just a dang good signifier that it's going to be a good bar. Like even beyond the SMWS stuff they have, all the partners just like know their stuff. So that's, I don't know how many different partner bars I've been to at this point, but
there's a bunch of them. And if you are curious about where that list kind of lives, so over on the UK website, so just smws.com, you'll be able to find a full list of all of the places that you can get society whiskey around the world. And there's a whole bunch of them. So if you are on your travels and are keen to have a society whiskey, make sure you check out that list and pop in for, a whiskey or two.
And I will say just there's a number of them that I could shout out, but the Mexico City SMWS partner bar is so special.
I have heard nothing but great things about nothing but great things.
It is. I was there in November of last year. It was a group of members and significant others and a few friends that were all in Mexico City together. And they stayed open for us. We had a private tasting because they were just so excited that Americans made the trip. And the nicest people went out of their way to show us a great time. The whiskey selection was phenomenal. And a particular benefit that a lot of countries not named America allow you to do is if you tasted anything you could actually buy the bottle directly from the bar, which is just so nice.
Yeah.
So if you're in Mexico City, definitely go.
Yeah, I think that, that's the cool part is that even just going to the members' rooms in the UK, it's like you're going to find so many bottles that will never make their way to the US. And because we release just globally so many different cask that and obviously you can't, what do you get like out of an ex-bourbon barrel, you're getting what, like, let's say 225 bottles of something like, and that's like for the whole world, which is crazy.
Nothing. I know.
Yeah. It's like a drop in the bucket. So to be able to kind of visit some of these places and see what they have is, I don't know, it's kind of like a little treasure hunt.
I had a friend over recently who doesn't know anything. I think he said it was the third Scotch he had ever tried. He doesn't know anything about single cask, but I was like, hey, do you want to taste this whiskey? He's like, sure. And he just takes it and downs it. And it's single cask strength. And I've filled him in later, but to make him feel bad for me, I was like, dude, they only made 225 bottles of that for the whole world. And you just took it like a shot. And he was
how was there no like tears in his eyes, or like if I were to just swig back a cask strength whiskey like that, I mean, I think my eyes would water. I would get like flushed. Like there was no reaction.
No, he was just stone faced, which is impressive in its own right. Yeah.
That is impressive.
Pretty good.
Wow. All right. Well, Robert also said that he's going to Mexico in April, so he'll have to stop by and make a stop.
I think the only thing with Mexico City is if you are going, they do it over WhatsApp, but text them ahead of time. I think they have the number listed on their bar page. It's like their actual apartment building, and the bottom floor is just a bar, which is also awesome. So yeah, just make sure that you arrange with them. You can't kind of just walk in. It's very cool. Worth planning for.
We'll have fun.
Definitely have fun.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Should we do our last one?
All right, shall we?
Sad as it is, I'm doing the announcing here.
It's all you this time.
All right. I'm happy because this is one of my favorite distilleries, and it's one of my favorite representations of one of my favorite distilleries. Are you going to put it up, or should I announce it ahead of time?
I'm not going to touch the banner yet. It's all you.
Then I'll make sure I can read and get all the details right this time. This is a lightly peated 16-year whiskey from distillery number 4. For those who don't know, distillery number 4 is a Highland whiskey, but technically it's not. But most people would say it's an Islands whiskey. It is lightly peated, like I said, and it was aged initially in an ex-bourbon hogshead before being finished in a first fill PX shaved, toasted, and recharred barrique. So Pedro Jimenez, I mean, that's just going to be big, bold. You couple that with peat, and you're in for a good time. And then I cannot confirm this because I don't get all the inside info that Jenna has. Maybe she can. But I don't know why you would shave, toast, rechar a seasoned sherry cask, right? If you're taking sherry and you're putting it in a cask just for the purpose of sending it to Scotland to mature whiskey in, you don't need to do that additional step of processing. So I think this is actually going to have been a sherry intended for consumption that used to be in this cask, which is going to mean a lot more time and perhaps some more quality as well. Oh, and the proof. I missed the proof. 58.3%.
All right, now I can throw the banner up.
a punchy. There's so much information. A punchy 58.3%.
Yes, and this was George Kaplan. This is Cask 4.304 that was distilled in the year 2005.
3 days after my birthday.
Whoa! January, baby.
January, yes. It's called A Proper Summer Dram, and it is released in... Are we still in winter?
Are we? I think so. Yeah, it's not spring yet.
No? Yeah, all right. So a proper summer dram for winter to get everyone excited. Lightly peated for summer. That's a fun combo.
A proper summer dram. What was that other one? Was that our summer? Oh, no. So we did a 13-year from this distillery. That was our spring seasonal selection bottle last spring. So I was like, was that a summer whiskey? I got to look back.
Also, once again, messed up the reading. I'm sorry. You didn't brief me on what to say when I was reading off the label. I just
wolves. I said, go for it. You just do.
If that's why I kind of wanted you to throw the information up on there, because then I was just going to read it. That would have made my life easier.
You got all of the details. You covered it all.
I missed the cast number. It's 304. It's important.
Well, there it is.
Maybe my favorite society distillery number 4 story. So Pip Hill's founder of SMWS. I think that he says 4.1, the original distillery 4, is his favorite release maybe ever from the society. I think that's what he said. I don't want to misquote the great Pip Hills, but one time he was in his old diesel powered car and the car broke down and there was like crazy inclement weather and he had a case of this whiskey in the back of his car, and a diesel engine can run on damn near anything. So he actually poured a bottle of distillery 4.1 in his car to drive himself home out of this storm, which is so sad, so sad, but so amazing at the same time.
Well, speaking of amazing, I'm not going to say anything because this is your whiskey And I do not want to sway your nose or your palate in any way.
There's a spice note on here that I know and I can't place it. It's something really weird, like a funky spice. It's an Asian spice. It might just be like Chinese 5 spice, where you get that like whole mix of spices all in one go. Plum underneath.
And Tim says, I expect people to have gathered behind his car to snort the
I'm with you, Tim. All right. I've taken too long on all the other ones. I'm going to go in.
All right. Cheers.
Oh. Oh, wow.
I feel like you've been up here all night, and then I literally just like watched you like melt into your seat.
It's so different from everything else we've tried. And this distillery for me is recently less so, but it's one of the few that I often find I like their distillery bottlings as much, or sometimes even more than some of the independently bottled things. I think they just do such a good job with cask management and blending to get the best out of their whiskeys. And thank you for putting this in that second cask. It's a distillery that bucks the trend I said on the last one, where I think a little bit of time in sherry does wonders, especially if they have a peatier base malt. For this to be in lightly peated,
yes,
where you're getting that peat coming through, it's not even really smoky, like maybe a hint, but it's much more peat than it is smoke.
I agree with you. And I found it like when I nosed this, I was like, okay, lightly peated. I could see that because I didn't get a lot of that on the nose. But then when I tasted it, I was like, wait a second. I was like, it's definitely more punchy than in the peat than I expected it to be in the lightly peated flavor profile.
But it's so counter levered with that STRPX cask. Like, there's just so much fruit. You're getting boiled fruit. You're getting smoked fruit. I love peated sherried whiskeys. I should have made that clear when I said sherry isn't normally my thing. This is a gem. How did I get this lottery on this lineup?
I'm almost like on the nose. I almost get like a smoked candied orange peel.
Ooh.
And then,
do you know the like chocolate oranges where they're like in the shape of the orange?
Yes, that you tap. You have to tap.
Yeah, you break it apart.
Yes. Okay. Literally, that's what I had in my head. But I was like, maybe I am getting the chocolate. Like I was like going back and forth on like the actual chocolate note of that. But yes, that candied orange where you got to tap it on its side to like break it up.
Tim asked, what's the STR in PX STR? So it's shaved, toasted, and recharred. What that basically means is they take the what would be the innermost layer of the cask and they shave it off, and then they toast it to help reactivate the wood, basically. And when you rechar it, you caramelize, particularly with like a sherried whiskey, there's a lot of residual sugar. And so you caramelize a lot of that fruit sugar onto the inside of the barrel and pull that out of the wood. And you kind of reactivate the cask. So doing that in a first fill cask, and again, presumably one that was used for some period of time, not just seasoning the cask, it's not as, again, same line, not jumping from the top rope, giving the people's elbow on sherry with this thing. PX for me is normally like so sticky, sweet. Yep. You were talking about Sauterne when you drink Sauterne regularly. I'd had a bunch of PX whiskeys from the society and was like, I need to try Pedro Jimenez sherry. Like I want to see the source text here.
Right.
And I went to a bar, and it's probably the only drink I've added water to in like 10 years at a bar. Like, felt the need to add water to. It's like 15% ABV. It was just so cloyingly sweet and
like
sticky.
cloying and like yeah.
This
like,
is not that though.
To your sinuses, it's so like sticky sweet.
This is not that.
Yeah. This is it's a really just like nice little ribbon of sweetness that I find in this. And I, like I said, and that's why I preface, like, non-peated sherried whiskeys are typically not my go-to, but anything that has like peat and sherry, I'm like, I want all of that. I want it all. This is fantastic.
It's funny because before we drank this, I led into it with like peated whiskey as a proper summer dram. And as I just took that sip, I was like, I can think of so many times where this is the whiskey I'm going to reach for off of my shelf.
In the summertime?
In the summer, they will, yeah, like anytime.
I love peat in the summer. I love peat in the summer. And like a peated highball is like one of my favorite. It's just like you get the peat and then you get like that refreshing, like thirst quenching common. It's fantastic.
But you probably get this question a lot as well. I get asked all the time, what's your favorite whiskey? Right? Like, and there's no one answer. You can't ask what's your it depends so much on what have I been drinking recently? What's the freaking weather doing? What mood am I in? But I can just think of so many times where I'm gonna be like, that 4.304. That would make me feel real good right now. Like I don't, it doesn't have, I wouldn't mistake this for Old and Dignified like I would the last one. Like this again leans into that fun, interesting, dynamic, brings so much to the table. I just don't like, it's not the same kind of peat. Even though it's only, I think 43% ABV, the Lagavulin Distillers Edition, where they do it in that PX cask, is just that was one of the whiskeys that like changed my relationship with whiskey. And this has a lot of that, but if you tapered the peat in favor of Orkney peat, and if you did it at single cask and cask strength, like it's just got that same amount of structured balance and fun and intrigue. And like every time I take a beat, I'm getting something totally different. It's just lovely.
And I do love like the finish has this really nice like charred aspect. Like I'm getting a lot of char on the finish. Like and I've been like drinking water and like I'm drinking water, I'm getting more char. And I'm like, this thing's really just like lingering on my palate, which I really have found for all of the whiskeys that we've tasted tonight. I mean, everything was just like really, I can't believe that this was like the lineup. I'm still just like, how is it this lineup and free shipping? But most of like this lineup is like silly. It's silly.
I have been to, when I lived in New York and when I lived between New York and San Francisco, I've been to more Outturn tastings than I can remember. Certainly. This is a top lineup of any of the ones I've done. I mean, this is just, I'm trying to think like what my least favorite is, and it's not even fair to try and frame things that way.
I couldn't pick one. I couldn't, like, if you were like, you need to rate these, I'd be like, well, we're gonna be
screw
here.
You, I'm not gonna.
Like, I can't do it. Like, how do you do that? It's
a special lineup.
It's this Outturn is really spectacular. Like if you were to just blindly pick any one of these bottles, you would just be, I mean, I guess outside if you didn't like peat, but I think you would just be so pleased with literally any single one of these bottles that we tasted tonight. Really fantastic.
The only cautionary tales I could give to someone are like, if the vanilla part of Juicy Oak and Vanilla isn't your thing, maybe not number 2, because it's got that like creamy, cakey, like big, those flavors big time. And if peat isn't your thing, I'm actually really not too worried about this dram. Like, but those are the only two cautionary tales I could do in this whole lineup because it's really got something for everyone in every pour.
It is really fantastic. I mean, a really stellar lineup. And speaking of lineups, I'm going to put the full Outturn up on the screen so you can see everything that's coming out tomorrow. So give me one quick second.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. I like normally have like an alert going for the Tuesday release. I don't even need to do that. I can just jump on here and I'll get all the information. Look at that.
I'm gonna throw it up there. Maybe if I can get it pulled up here on my screen. Hold on one quick second.
You all haven't normally done this though. I've watched a number of these and I haven't seen that come out.
Yeah, we pull them up here for every Outturn. We show the full list. All right, here we go.
FMS Piano is mentioning one we didn't taste. 1.262.
Did not. That's the one I was going to get to.
Oh, Distillery 1 is so good.
So this particular cask. Okay, so it's going to, I believe on the thing it said, yeah, first fill Coseca wine barrique. And I did a little more research, talked to Tom about this, and it was in a sweet Spanish white wine. So we have sweet French white wine and the Sauterne, and then that Coseca wine barrique is a sweet Spanish white wine. And I will say that at my tasting yesterday, that was one of the ones that people were just really kind of over the moon for. A really interesting profile, a really interesting cask. And so that was one that people were quite excited about. So that is the full list of everything that's going to be coming out tomorrow. Looks like we got a grain with the 31-year grain in there from the lowlands, which is exciting.
Peaty Distillery 16 was like a revelation for me. The first time I had that was at Greville Street in London at the members' house.
I'll be there in 2 weeks. I'm excited to.
Oh, have you been?
Nope, not to London.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we were stoked.
I wanted to move to London in part because I camped there. Like, so I don't know if they still do this, but they used to do a thing where one Tuesday out of every month, they would open up all the bottles that were open would be £5 per sample.
Yeah.
From their like old just legacy stuff they had sitting around. And if they had any bottles that were not open, they would sell them at 20% off whatever the price was when it was released.
Wow.
And so I got some bottle of Distillery 41, like old style label for, I think it came out to like $31 because it had just been sitting there forever and no one cared. And it is so fantastic. If they're doing that, I mean, I'm sure you have better benefits than what I get just as a member strolling through on a Tuesday. But if you get the chance, those tastings that they did of just like all the stuff that there were bottles from the early 2000s. I mean, it's just such a cool community of people. The environment's amazing. Definitely hang out there a few nights.
Looking forward to it for sure. So it looks like in 2 on the list, we have a Distillery 18, which that was one that we did taste at our in-person events. Really interesting. I've not had anything from Distillery 18 from the Society. So I was really excited to kind of dive into that and give that a go. That is in our deep, rich, and dried fruits flavor profile. And the bottle of the month is also a deep, rich, and dried fruits. And that is Cask 68.78, a total wowzer. So that'll be our bottle of the month. And I love the Polly put the kettle on. Love that. Love that. Love that too. Yeah. So that one would be fun in our young and sprightly flavor profile, which we don't see too much of anymore. But yeah, it's a pretty stellar month.
You just look at that color palette.
Right?
Yeah, it's a good one.
It is a really fantastic one. And again, free shipping on top of it. I mean, really, it's kind of hard to beat. So that's it. That is our March Outturn. We did it. We made it. We did it.
Thank you so much. So much. Not just for providing me this incredible nectar. And again, legitimately, not just because I was able to do this. This is one of the most impressive selections I've seen from the society ever. But also thank you for letting me co-host with you. This was a ton of fun. Yeah. I hope I can be invited back, even though I botched both of my readings.
You know what? Practice makes perfect. So we'll have to have you back, to see how you do. We'll definitely make sure we do that.
Now I know I don't know. Now I know the routine. Yeah. So you just tell me when. I mean, if there's an opportunity, I'm here.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to come and kind of wax lyrical about all of these fantastic whiskeys and to, just share it with us. It's what it's for. And I feel it's like a pinch me moment, really, to be able to sit here and to talk about these incredible whiskeys. And we couldn't do this without our members. So thank you all for taking the time to come join us tonight. And please do reach out if you have any questions about any of these whiskeys. And these will all go live on our website at 1:00 Eastern time tomorrow. And if you have any questions, please do give us a call or send me an email. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So Charlie, thank you so much for joining me, and for everyone else, we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jenna. And a last shout out, Brianna Ross, you're the champ.
Hey, B. Ross.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.